Should I get this thing anyway? Alright, sweet. Well, so to give everyone an idea, we've done a podcast before. We did one it was a few months back. We kind of gambled a little bit on the audio equipment. So tried it. It was a bit shifty, so we haven't binned it, but we'll put it up, but we're going to leave it just for a little bit, and actually at least the first podcast can actually have some half decent audio. So we'll put this up. The first one we have like talk a little bit more about how we know each other and shit like that. But we just kind of wanted to do a quick podcast on basically, I mean, like in the last week we saw the thing with EBISU, how they've changed the regulations on missiles. So we just thought we'd do a quick one on that. It won't be as long as usual probably. So, and I think it's funny because like me and Aussie were actually talking about the other day at ET, and we kind of were like, it was good because I could tell he had a slightly varying opinion on me than me. So we kind of thought, all right, this is sweet. You know, we'll save it for the podcast and we'll have a bit of a talk about it. So, but I mean, a bit of a background, I guess, is obviously, you know, DJ's had nice street cars. He's had, I mean, you've had missiles at EBISU. Mm-hmm. I mean, you've had battle cars here. I've had obviously nice cars here, nice cars in Japan. Obviously comp spec cars as well, and missiles. And Aussie's exactly the same.
Yeah.
I
think we've all had a fair share of different types.
Yeah.
Ranging the whole thing. So
yeah, I mean, we're certainly like, we wouldn't say we're like any, you know, committed to any sort of kind of thing, but we've all tried a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And we've certainly all been to EBISU, we
understand the benefits of each, the pros and cons of all types.
Yeah.
Cars. Yeah.
And I think the most important thing is we're not actually like against any kind of style really.
No.
You know, we enjoy all of it. So
appreciate all different types.
Yeah. But so I guess what was your reaction?
Well, initially I was, saddened, like a lot of people were who've already been there, or people who maybe haven't been there, or looking forward to going and, being able to treat cars like you treat a missile. But, when I actually started thinking about it, I thought, well, I'm kind of okay with it. I understand what they're trying to do. It's debatable as to the end game, as the reason why this is all happening. But I think from a safety standpoint, especially with what's been happening recently over there with some of the crashes and some of the injuries people have been starting to have, because it's debatable as to the reasons why those crashes are happening. But I think the general attitude of Westerners, especially going there, for the last few years, maybe even longer, has not been going downhill, but the attitude has definitely been that people think of an EBISU trip as a chance to fuck some cars up.
Yeah.
Basically, like turn cars
Demolition
into
derby kind of.
Demolition derby kind of thing.
Yeah.
And to be honest, the first time that I went there was back in 2009, and you went soon after I did.
Yeah, it was the Matsuri after, wasn't it?
Yeah. I went back in 2009, late 2009, and when we went...
Well, yeah, DJ was that one as well.
Well, with you.
Yeah, he was... we were both over there at the same time.
Yeah, okay,
so he was in the...
Because you didn't go to a Matsuri first, did you? You went just for a...
Yeah, we went there like about a month before or something, or a few weeks before.
Yeah.
We were kind of like living in the hole kind of thing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, living in the hole. Yeah, so...
I say living in the hole. We were living in the hole.
Yeah. So to give people out there some perspective as to where it sort of... Not necessarily where it sort of started, but I guess kind of where it sort of started for Westerners going over there. I mean, obviously there were a few people going over there long before I did in 2009. I know Fink went over there a little bit before, and even Josh Young went before then. And
I saw a few people going over there.
Yeah, a few patches and stuff. But I know that from speaking to all those guys, they went through the same experience that I did, in that them or their group that they were with were pretty much the only Westerners there at a Matsuri, which gave it such a cool vibe in itself, because we weren't used to any of that. Everything was a new experience the first time I went over there and being able to battle with guys. I was obviously in a car that I was going to be cutting up, so we didn't really think of them as missiles. We just thought, oh, let's get some cars, and then we were thinking, oh, we're going to cut them up. So when the first person had a praying, we were kind of like, oh shit, oh hang on, we're cutting them up anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll just not worry about it so much, and then we just did that, and slowly our default inhibitions of not wanting to fuck cars up just started to disappear, and that's when it sort of developed into that whole trip. We were just kind of designing the cars, which as a skill benefit was massive to not have to care. We're talking about 09 as well, so 08, 09, especially in Australia, I think a lot of people were really trying to up the ante with the professionalism of their cars. Everyone's cars were looking really good, who were in comps and stuff like that. People were getting on with the stickers, all that sort of shit. Like it was all getting pretty full on. So to be able to switch over to that ideal when we were in Japan, that was amazing. But I think over time it's sort of developed from just being a small group of Westerners and then mostly Japanese people and having this mutual respect between each other, and they were blown away that we would come all the way over from Australia at that time.
Well, I think that's part of the big thing. Is like I think it's worth just saying like you can't, whether we're talking about Driftland making a similar decision with getting rid of the missiles there, or EBISU, you're not talking from a sense of...
You mean Scotland?
Yeah, the Scotland Driftland, sorry, not the EBISU one. So you're talking about essentially, you're not criticising them. We're not sitting here saying, you guys made the wrong decision, rah, rah, rah. Because at the end of the day, we respect both places, especially both Driftland and EBISU, hugely, and the contributions, obviously, especially EBISU. So I think it's worth knowing before like anybody kind of gets shitty about the idea of anything we say which might be kind of contrary to what we think. It's not saying, because at the end of the day we don't have all the information. And then it's not our necks on the line. Yeah. So when shit happens, it's not us that take the fall for it. So
we're not bashing anyone particular.
Exactly. The issue is that there's going to be there's going to have a knock-on effect, and so you got to talk about. I got to talk about it because people are going to have to make the decision whether they want them at their track or not. And at different levels, because let's understand, EBISU, by all accounts, is not asking. They're asking for a different level of things, and their regulations vary to Driftland. And one of the main things I noticed is that I didn't see anything about EBISU saying, as long as you start the day with a clean car, you'll be okay. Now, that's a pretty big, important thing for me because Driftland said, as long as you rock up to the track in a clean car, if shit happens, shit happens. And I didn't see that with EBISU, and that's a big problem I have because you could be a kid flying around the whole... And, when we went over there, we were kids, and we'd saved up everything we had. And we went there, we had one car, one shot, and then, and I remember, I dented mine to the school wall. We were fucking around. I had no clutch, remember? Yeah. Remember, I had zero clutch, so I'm going around. I couldn't correct the handbrake or anything like that. And we were just going for wall scrapes and scraping, and then we weren't going to smash up my car. That was my daily car at the time. That was literally my daily car. And then just one of them had just overcooked it, inexperience and stuff like that. And I just went in hard, and it was a big hit than I expected it. And that would have knocked me out of the regulations, and that would have sent me home. I could have spent probably a day or so, but if that had happened at Matsuri, would have knocked out a good part of my Matsuri. I think that's a big thing. Like, Driftland, they've put in the regs where they say, look, if shit happens at the track, as long as you fix it by the next time you come out, we're okay with that. And I think that's very, very big difference. However, it also looks like Driftland are slightly tighter on their regulations. I'd say power vehicles are probably asking for a little bit less than Driftland.
What you just said then about as long as you fix it up before you come back out, that seems like that's what...
No, it's the next event, sorry.
Yeah, I see, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So what Driftland is saying, you can go over the rest of the event. So whether it's, obviously, if it's a 2-day event, you can do throughout the rest of the 2 days, but just make sure you fix it. And that's my understanding of it. And it makes sense to me, But what they're saying is, if shit happens, we're not going to send you home. We're not going to fuck up your event because shit happens.
The risk's always been there. Like, if you rock up to an event and you get T-boned and your car's a banana, you're obviously not driving out there.
Exactly.
It's always been there. But I mean, the major appeal for a lot of people for EBISU was it was a perfect place to go and learn.
Yeah.
And like, it went from like back when we started, I got that GDR for $3,000. I mean, I got lucky. Streeter helped us out a lot with that, but. The second time around, that 4-door cost me $1,500, and that was that was on the road as well. Like,
exactly.
I mean, gone are the days now. I mean,
I
was looking around the other day, and the cheapest 32 I can find is like $6,000.
Well,
on Yahoo or something.
Yeah.
A lot of the issue is the fact that it just became too expensive. I mean, look, power vehicles offer a great service and stuff like that there, but it's not economical for a lot of kids to get in there and spend $6,000 on a fairly basic car. I mean, that's the problem is I look at the prices at EBISU and I'm like, well, you can get cars here in Australia for half that.
Yeah,
but
so that to me is
that's the reality. They're running out of cars.
That's so, where we get to. But it's for me, it's the risk versus reward. And it's like, yes, Japan's got all these amazing tracks and it's the experience, the culture, everything else. But it's like, not only is the price of cars going through the roof because they're drying up, but it's also that I can spend $6,000 on a car plus all the tyres, the flights, the accommodation, the course entry, everything. Get over there, do half a lap, and some other dude T-bones me, and that's it.
Yeah.
Game. It doesn't even have to be T-bone.
But I think
just stove it in the wall.
Yeah, and that's the big issue for me. But I think what was happening was people, this economy kind of developed, like Gaijin drift sales and stuff like that, where people were selling these cars, and so it was kind of undermining the people that were making money there. But it was making an affordable economy for people to come over, and kids to come over again, because like I said, I think one of the first, the second time I went over, I bought a car through Power Vehicles, and it cost me a few grand. It was plenty. It was plenty for what I wanted.
Yeah.
It was fairly basic, but I had mods and stuff like that. And you just don't see that as much anymore. So the appeal of going over and buying a completely fucked car, just purely because, well, it's going to get me by, and it costs bugger all. I can actually afford to do it. Now, I guess there is this attitude of, well, if you can't afford to spend, $5-6 grand plus on a brand new car, then you can't afford EBISU. But I guess I'm probably you're a good idea that we could afford. We could go over there and learn so much and gain. I mean, I gained a good portion of my skills from EBISU, and I did it on the complete budget, like absolute budget, bare minimum, most of the time. And so look, we might like. I guess the thing is even if you become rich or you become whatever, I think is the critical thing to remember is, I think too many people people are too quickly to forget the beginners. They're too easy to forget the poor people, not poor people, but the kids that don't have heaps of money to do this stuff. And to me, I guess for me personally, I love that shit. I love traveling around the world and seeing these guys in these kind of real basic beginnings in drift, where they don't have a lot of money, but fuck have they got talent, and fuck are they just and so for me, I don't move on from that. I still love that stuff. I mean, I respect a lot of the big money stuff within drift, but I still love seeing that stuff, and that's where my heart will always be. And I guess when I see regulations being put in place that will really affect that kind of I don't know.
Those up and coming drivers.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's almost
exactly. Now
the next generation of drifters.
That's the thing. I don't know if it'll affect it. Okay, it'll affect it in a way, but at the same time, they're still allowing people to go back out if they fix their cars, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think that is the crucial part. Is that I think part of the aim is obviously they talk about the safety side of things, etc., etc. But I think a lot of what, in my opinion, what they're trying to do is change the attitude.
Yeah.
So I think,
but that's the critical point. We should be changing the attitude, and I don't think regulations. And this is the problem. There should be more focus on changing the attitude and doing it in a constructive way instead of just adding regulations. It's this funny thing where it's the same thing we see with import driving and stuff with hoon driving and stuff like that. It's funny how quickly people are so against police putting in more regulations to curb these attitudes within people on the street, home behaviour and stuff like that. You know, they do all these defecting and stuff like that. You know, we say, oh, well, we're getting all these Skylines off the road because all Skyline drivers are notorious for this, notorious for that. And it's funny how quickly drifters will then start talking about how we've got to ban all the missile dudes because there's a bunch of guys which have got a bad reputation. And to me, it's the same thing. What you're banning everybody just because there's a few people which are fucking it up for us. And the fact is you know, it's the hypocrisy is what fucks with me. Is the fellow drifters are talking about these missiles and saying like that. It's like, hang on. Most of these guys were talking about it. I can name off pretty much every single Australian, like the best, real, genuine, highly skilled drifters in Australia. Most of them, that I truly respect, most of them have learned in missiles, and a lot of them have been pretty fucked.
Yeah.
Like if you look at them at EBISU or whatever, like they were pretty fucked. You know, some of the top dudes. So you can't sit there and say all missile drivers are such and such because here we're talking about like guys like you, Leighton Fine, Krista Jaeger, Lee Pidwell. Yeah. I could be here literally all day just naming off like top level drivers who have been in some of the most Chris is 32. Fuck.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm talking about? But he is one of Australia's best drivers, probably easily one of the top few tandem drivers. But we're talking about he drove these cars.
Yeah.
So we can't label everybody in this thing. And my issue is when we say all these cars are not allowed, what we're doing is we're saying the people that drive these cars are the fucking problem, instead of saying it's the people with bad attitudes. And we saw with fucking old mate FD driver the other day. I don't know if you saw that video. I think it was Pat or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I don't know Pat,
No.
but that was a douche move, for sure, and he knew it was a douche move. But instead of he did that in an FD car or a full blown car. If he'd done that in a missile, everybody would have been like, look at these missile drivers, just driving into everybody, just smashing into everybody. Because in an FD car, we hold a different standard. The issue is the attitude.
Yeah.
Having that fucking shitty attitude of doing bad stuff like that, and getting out with a bad attitude if somebody does this to you and you fucking get out and abuse them or get in a fight or anything like that. That's the fucking problem with drift. It's not, then you had the old mate in that yellow car who fucking lost a wheel and ejected his fucking battery. And everybody was going on about fucking style dudes and giving style dudes shit for being tantrums and stuff like that and giving that guy. It's like, that guy's a douche. It's nothing to do with the car he's driving. And obviously we saw a trend of guys come in with a missile because it became a trend.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's just the way it is. As soon as you have something that's trending, which missiles were, you had people coming in that were in it for the wrong reason. They were there to be seen in a missile. The same as style guys, same as the comp dudes, or same as any of these fucking... as the trend moves through things, they're there to be seen and there for the wrong reason. Instead of enjoying that discipline, not discipline, but that style, they're there to be seen. And the thing about missiles, man, when they came into missiles, they were like, fuck yeah, we're going to fuck shit up because it was to be seen, man. They were in there for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
And we needed to be talking to that. And I tried to do it as much as I could. I tried to go, no, fuck, it's not about that shit. It's not about, fucking shit up. It's about enjoying yourself.
Pushing
yourself. Pushing yourself
was the biggest thing for me with missile driving.
Yeah.
Or with any battle car driving, or just driving a car where you didn't give too much of a shit about a scrape or a bump or whatever. It was just, whether you want to call it missile, battle car, whatever the fuck you want to call it, I call it a car that I don't really care about bumping and grinding with mates.
Yeah.
But doing it with respect was it seems to be the biggest difference now. There seems to be
I don't think do we need these regulations? I mean, you're looking at, yes, the regulations, as far as I'm concerned, the regulations are good because Japanese cars are drying up. You look at Skyline.
Yeah, but this is another one of the arguments that I see on here, and this is, here's the thing about missiles is they're like recycling their cars.
I'm getting to that.
Oh, okay.
Is the inflated price point going to slow the missile trend down, or is it just what you just touched on there are these missiles that are supposedly seen so bad for the image, so bad for the track and everything else, are they just cars that would have been scrapped that are still sitting there and people are still getting more enjoyment out of? I mean, from my personal experience, every time I've been to the track, I mean, even both times I was at EBISU, I mean, I left after, a month or two driving EBISU pretty much every day, plus, a bunch of stuff around Japan in that first car.
And you had the intention of cutting those cars up, so it wasn't even, but I mean...
The first one I was looking at bringing home, and that one stayed mint. Like, I did, however long in EBISU, and the car still came back with barely a scratch on it.
Yeah, same with my 81, yeah.
Yeah.
The second car, I knew was...
like that. Oh, actually, no, the white one.
The second car I knew was always going to be cut up, so it was like, okay, I can push a little bit harder in this car, but it was still the cleanest car. When I bought it was still the cleanest car I'd ever driven.
Yeah.
So it was like, I didn't...
The four-door.
The four-door. I didn't want to smash that to bits because it was a beautiful looking car, but it was like, all right, well, eventually it is going to get, cut in half and shipped back to Australia. But for me, that was a tough thing, especially coming from, I hadn't done a lot of track work before our first trip, so it was basically coming off the street straight to EBISU, and it was like, I didn't have that 110%, that you had coming from the track, where it was like, all right, sweet, let's go out and chuck it in, throw it in backwards and make this work.
Yeah.
For me, it was all about linking things and easing into things. I mean, one of the first tracks we drifted over there was the Togo course. I remember Andy saying, what are you doing going up there? That's one of the most dangerous tracks we've got. And we came back with the bloody biggest smile I've ever had on my face. Your
actual first track experience was actually EBISU. Is that what you're saying?
I'd done one track day at Malabar in my
white one.
That's.
Oh no, it was the blue thing.
Yeah. My NA that had been turboed 4-door 32.
Yeah. So, but that means that you've obviously got a different experience to us, because obviously when I went over there in 2009, I'd already been drifting for 4 years, and you would have been what 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So both of us are fairly experienced with track shit, but
that was literally my first track experience, my first proper track experience.
Yeah. Okay. So was it very intimidating for you, jumping in the deep end like that?
Minami? Yes.
Yeah,
we were both fucking 3-4 years, and you're 4 or 5 years or whatever. Still, Minami's just
dude,
fuck.
And I hope Leighton sees
I still go there and I'll fucking shit my dacks before I go.
I hope Leighton sees this, and he didn't want to do it, man. He didn't want to do it at all. He didn't want to fucking touch Minami.
I don't fucking blame him.
Yeah. And that was in his missile too. That was in his 90. He didn't really care if he dinged it up or whatever.
Yeah.
But he didn't want to he just didn't want to do it. And when he did do it, he'll freely admit he pussyfooted around there. He didn't
the funny part about it was, first time I ever did Minami, I didn't know how to do it. So I just did jump line.
Yeah.
And I came in and Andy's like, what the fuck are you doing? You said you're doing it completely wrong. You're going straight through there at way too fast. You're meant to actually go around the chicane. I said, well, what am I meant to do? He said, well, you slow down and you go for this. I said, so I go slower. He's like, yeah. So I was like, nah, I think I'll do it this way.
Well, the first time, I think I told you about this, the first time that I went in there was me and Lindo.
Yeah.
And then we didn't even know that Saito was there. Mind you, this is 2009. We didn't know anybody who'd ever driven with Saito, so that was just fucking mind-blowing straight away.
Yeah.
And like I was saying to you the other day, it's nowadays, I drove it with Saito at Matsuri. It's yeah, we've all fucking been there. But this is 2009, we were holy fucking shit.
Yeah.
Saito's on track, and everyone else got off track, and we didn't even really think as to why. This is in the wet. And we're on 16s.
And then you saw on first lap, that's
we're on 16s. We're on 16s, and he 205 16s, and he's on 295 19s or whatever, something. And they were Advanti overs or some shit, the most grippy shit. And this is in the wet, and so me and Lindo have just followed him in at the exact same speed that he's going, and just we was holy shit, this is fast! Just before we entered. And fucking both of us KO'd the shit out of our cars straight away.
Yeah, and I guess some people would say, oh, that was that's a reason for it. But I would say, would you have gone out there and had that experience if you were that worried about denting your car?
No, so we wouldn't have had that. We probably wouldn't have gone as hard. But so this is where I come back to their regulations in terms of missiles, what they classify as a missile and not, and to me, it looks like what they're classifying as not a missile, and you can still use it, is a battle car. And a battle car being one that's not like, you know, the rear quarter doesn't, they don't look like the front of a boat. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like your local Laurel, like your old Laurel ended up.
Yeah.
Like that, I think the way that they're going about it is the right. I think there's more to it than what they're doing now. They could do different things as well. Like we were talking about driver's briefing.
I think driver's briefing is the big thing.
Yeah,
I think that's just
thing.
it's what needs to be done, and it should have been done a long time ago. And I understand. Like, I hear saying, well, it shouldn't be our responsibility to have to do a driver's briefing, but then I hear at the same time talking about, you know, like, we're taking responsibility for those foreigners. I think it's just at this point where, you know, whoever needs to do it, I think obviously it'll probably end up on the responsibility of our vehicles, unfortunately.
Yep.
But, you know, like, but I think it has to be done. I think you got to sit there and lay out the rules. And the thing is, I got a lot of shit for stuff I never knew was wrong. I like, and because, you know, part of the Japanese culture, and I've said this before, but I think a lot of the issues we had, a lot of Australians have at EBISU is a culture clash, because Australians expect to be told when they're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And the Japanese expect you to kind of know what's going on. So, you know, you should be doing it right. And they don't really want to confront you on the issue if you are doing it wrong. And so I guess for Australians, you know, when we're not told, we just kind of, you know, we keep going and say, oh, well, this must be okay.
Yeah, we'll push the
Yeah,
boundaries.
and look, I had some experience, obviously. Like, you know, we'd been living over there before our first Matsuri, so we had an understanding of the culture. But I guess it's always very hard to understand it. And to be honest, there was a lot of times where we just didn't understand. I mean, you know, Alexi brought up this thing when I put up the post. He was talking about how I got told off for scraping the wall. And it was just one of these things where, you know, I just didn't think about it because they just put this fresh netting on there.
Yeah.
And I didn't think about it, but my boot was...
That was at North Course, right?
On North Course.
Yeah.
My boot was flipping up. And I didn't even think about it. But of course, like, if I had a really bad hit into there, that would crush, and then the boot would go over and possibly tag the net, and it would destroy the net.
Yep.
And so I didn't even think about it. And then Alexi comes on track. He's been told by Miura that I need to stop going near the wall because my boot could catch the net. And so I'm like, oh, that's fair enough. So I stopped going near the wall. No worries. And I was like, because at first I was like, stop scraping the wall. I'd kid it. Like, you know, like isn't that like, you know, like a lot of people go to scrape the wall there. Like, this is the first I'm hearing about this being an issue. And then I found out later it was because of the boot and stuff like that. So I took the boot off and I went back and I said, is it all right if I get near the wall now? And he's like, yeah, no worries. And so I went back and not a problem. And so this has been one of these things that's been brought up, and it was just one of these things. I mean, you understand, when I first went to EBISU, you know, we've got guys there, like the missile dudes there, like trump anything the Australians do. Like,
oh, you mean the local?
Oh, some of them. Not like just the normal battle guys, but the guys there with the big fucking exhaust sticking out like that, and like the fucking the truck trays like welded onto the back of a 180SX. Like, remember that dude? And well, those guys go pretty nuts, and they like fuck shit up.
Yeah.
I got photos of guys standing between, you know, the building there.
Yes.
On the wall. There's guys standing on the wall between the building and the track.
Yep.
And there's two missiles.
That's on
inertiaMS. And they're both scraping that wall.
Yeah, that's on inertiaMS.
Yeah, sick.
Which, on Manami?
No, North.
On Keda, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess the thing is like, we Australians rocked up and we're like, this is fucking amazing. Yeah. You know, we're seeing guys there with ice cream containers on their heads. And we're like, this is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And so we go there and we basically, you know, enjoy those relaxed regulations. But this is the thing, is like the Japanese just know how to, it's just, you know, it's just one of these things. They know how to kind of, you know, keep it moderate. And Australians look at it and we think, yeah, that's crazy. And we get so excited about it. Yeah. And I think this is one of the most important things is we've got to accept the fact that when we first went over there, you know, the first Matsuri, how many people were... I can't remember how many people there, but I can tell you right now, in G1, there was about 16 drivers. Okay?
Yeah.
16 drivers, and that was pretty much everybody that was entered. This wasn't like, oh, I might do G1. It was like everybody that had a car there. And so there was bugger all there, and I remember everybody there being very appreciative that we were there. and talking about wanting to get more Australians over and stuff
definitely.
like that.
Yeah.
And like it just felt nice and stuff like that. So I guess the thing is, we went away, and part of the thing is, we had seen these guys, the Japanese guys in the missiles, getting fucking ruthless. We had seen the lack of safety that they were showing for each other, and stuff like that. And we're like, this is fucking cool. And so we promoted like like the content that was put out was of the missiles, and people were like, I can't believe this is insane, rah rah rah. And guess what happened? You got to understand, living in Australia, when you go to a racetrack, you're so constricted by regulations.
Yeah.
Of course, when Australian sees a place where they could just let their hair down and not worry about regulations, they're going to be attracted by it.
Yeah.
So of course, you're going to attract drivers that want to get away from the regulations. Look, EBISU is great, don't get me wrong. There's a bunch of cool tracks, but you're trying to get people to come over. Now you can sell them on being the birthplace of drift, the home of drift, let's say. You can sell them on that. You can sell them on the amazing tracks. You can sell them on a lot of things, but let's not kid ourselves. A lot of what EBISU was sold as, and a lot of what got people there, which was what EBISU wanted. They wanted people there. They wanted Australians there. What we sold them was, it's relaxed, not many regulations. You can do whatever you want. You can thrash the tits out of these things. You don't have to worry about all these fucking safety regs that you've been so caught up with in Australia, to the point of just, But and look, let's put it this way: we could talk about it's starting to get this, starting to get that, dude. One guy, smashed his head on something and somebody broke some ribs or something like that. Not great, but guess what? We come from some fucking... He broke his back. He was that close to fucking being in a wheelchair from where he came. I wrapped my back around a tree fucking down on the back of Hackaba.
Yeah.
That
was skiing, right? Just
snowboarding. Yeah.
How did you almost break your back?
Mountain biking.
Yeah.
T6.
Yeah. Skateboarding, wakeboarding. He even on wakeboarding, behind our boat, he got fucking KO'd, man.
Yeah.
We were seriously worried about him. Like, he was throwing up.
It comes down to liability as well, though.
And this is the thing, and this is the difference. This is the discussion we could have, because you could have the reality discussion and the ideological or idealism thing. And that's the thing, is the way I look at it, man, is if we were just talking about ideally, anybody can do whatever the fuck they want, as long as they don't harm other people.
Yeah.
Okay, so as long as they're not, they're not going on track with big fucking spikes coming out of their cars that could hurt other people. They want to put themselves at risks. That's fine. Do it. That's you. You can wear the ice cream container if you want. That's somebody that, as a libertarian, I don't feel like we need to tell people how to be safe. When I went out on Nishi, dude, the last time I went out on Nishi, I took a neck brace. Because I knew I was going to do some dumb shit. I wanted to go out, and I really wanted to go drive with Saito on Nishi. So that was one of my goals. And I knew I was going to be doing some dumb shit with somebody that's pretty careless how they drive behind me. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to have to take this thing. So I had a full face helmet. I had a cage in my car. And I had a fucking neck brace. And I went out there and did some dumb shit.
Yeah.
I haven't always had that. Like, I'm obviously not a model for safety. I'm not going to lie. But I took those responsibilities, and that's on me. I don't want somebody telling me I have to fucking do this. I like the idea that there should be education there that says people, like, I'll say to somebody, I said, maybe this or safety shit here and there. I'll give people a hint. They can take it or leave it. But I don't like the idea that we tell people how they fucking have to do stuff. Make your own choices in life, and I just don't like that. Then there's the reality one. The reality side of it is that if shit goes down, it falls back onto somebody.
Exactly.
And that's the fucking problem.
Exactly.
Now, my understanding with EBISU is with a lot of Japaners, they're a lot more relaxed when it comes to suing and putting the blame on the people that own the joint as opposed to the person doing the fucking shit.
Yeah, but the fear is then there.
And that's why I thought, EBISU, you sign a little sheet, and then hopefully, even if you kill yourself, that it doesn't come back at them. Same time, even if you're not worried about the liability, I'm sure Kumikowa-san doesn't want deaths to this track, so he doesn't want injuries. So there's that part of it, and that's completely relevant, and that's why I don't think we can talk on what should and shouldn't happen. Because at the end of the day, they've got a bunch of people there, and they look at it as their care, under their care. And if something goes wrong, it comes back on them. Even if it's not legally, morally, they might feel obligated to it. And so that's why I don't think you can talk on it. But that's just my opinion of how I look at it ideally. And when I see people say, you know, I that's an important thing, because, you know, as long as people are talking in that sense, I think I'm okay with it. When people say, oh, we need to tell people how to fucking be safe and stuff like that, from a purely just from that pure sense, not from we need to do it so that it's, you know, we can, you know, there's no insurance issues and stuff like that.
My problem is, once, like, I look at a lot of things in Australia, I look at a lot of you know, extreme sports and whatever that I've been involved in, and once you get to a certain point and you start trying to introduce too many rules and regulations, people start feeling, they stop thinking for themselves. And they start feeling.
And this is a great example of that. When you go watch people, and the funniest part is watching people on Minami and stuff like that, where it kind of goes into open, and people will just like, where's the track guides? Yeah. And they're just going to lose their mind.
When it goes into open.
Yeah, well, you know, like when you go Minami and then you kind of go around it, and then there's just blocks there and all that, and then people just lose their mind, and because there's cars coming through here, you know, that cars will shoot through this way, and you can either go straight up, or you can go around and join like this, or you can do the full loop and stuff like that, and people lose their mind because now they got to think about cars coming in, and they're like, what the fuck's going on? This is crazy. And it's like, no, but that's the thing. Japanese,
it keeps you fully aware.
Japanese Japanese just do it because they're used to this shit. But Australians, they freak out because they're not used to this. Because we're used to being told this stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we get
You're
dumb.
going down this channel and nowhere else. Like,
and that's photographers get dumb. Like that guy at ADGP that let a fucking let a concrete barrier fall onto his toes. And this is like
let a concrete.
Well, but he did, because he didn't jump back because he was used to like if you're used to being in situations where shit can go wrong, you don't feel like he got put in that position, and then the Australian mentality is, oh, I'm safe here because I've been put in this place.
Even though I'm standing in a dangerous position.
But apart,
yes,
this totally outside drift.
Philosophical, really, but
a Western society issue.
Yeah. But the thing is,
being fucking everybody's got pillows around.
Exactly.
The great thing is watching
up a can of worms when you start.
One of the funniest videos you can watch is like D1SL or D1GP, like the cameramen that like run out of the way from cars coming through. But guess what? They get the fuck out of the way. They don't sit there because they know they're in a place of danger. And I think it's the problem in Australia. We just stand there because we think, we're secure now because we've been given this. I'm allowed to stand. Exactly.
But you know what though? And going on from that, with a false sense of security, I think Australians who go over there, a lot of Australians who go over there, they'll get into these beat up cars, and they have a false sense of security that they are totally safe. Because that they can, and I reckon that, to me, if I was the person who was putting these new regs on, to me, that would be one of the major things that would be making me do these reg changes, is to change that attitude. Is that people go over there thinking that, I'm totally safe, I don't have a cage, doesn't matter, it's a car. You know, they've never crashed, had a big crash in a car before because they've been so restricted with regulations. Now, you don't have to have tight regs. Sorry, you don't have to have loose regs to be able to smash your car up. But it's much more likely because we're missiling cars, blah, blah, blah. But, so I think that a lot of those people who go over there and they missile their cars, they have this false sense of security that even though their door is totally fucking caved in.
I'm just thinking Chris's car.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Chris's car is an interesting example. We're going to get onto that, but they might be in a JZX90 and their B pillar might be completely crushed in, and they think they're totally safe by going out on a track like any track really, and driving real close to other people. Now, if they're driving within their skill set, then cool. But they might be doing a lot of progression while they're at EBISU. They might be learning like you were.
Yeah.
You know, but they might be going out to learn like you did in a car that's already fucked.
Yeah.
But they're used to the mentality of Australia that you're in a fairly well together car, you're pretty safe.
Yeah.
As soon as you get behind the wheel, you're not thinking about how your rear quarter's smashed in, unless you're already
Yeah.
used to getting close to a wall. And I know I can go a few inches closer. That's all you're really thinking about.
Yeah.
But if you've still got a full interior, full dash, the mentality is like, I'm just driving a fucking car. It's a car. And surely I'm going to be fairly safe if I...
To be fair, I think you are... Like, I guess, once again, it comes back to thinking about other sports, and I still think you kind of... I still think you are, like, fairly safe. Even in a couple can.
Relatively,
yeah,
yes.
You're not as safe, for sure.
Yeah, but you've still got tracks... I mean, we're talking about EBISU. There are tracks there where, Nishi, you can click 180 there.
Plus,
going Nishi long, and if something goes completely fucking wrong,
for sure,
you've got the clay the clay hill on the left.
I don't think a dented boot will make a difference like that, and that I think is part of the issue is the real killer, the actual. If you want to talk about safety issues, it would make more sense to me to impose roll cage only on Nishi long thing than no missiles with dented boots. And if you actually if you look into it, dude, the safety thing it seems to be, there's a lot of safety stuff made, but it's actually not the primary thing in how a lot of how it's been coined. Because if you actually look at the real reason, it's actually because a lot of local Japanese people don't want to rock up anymore because they see all these Australians going around.
Because they get intimidated.
I think this is the problem. One of the fucking things I hate.
The attitude they think that.
Yeah, one of my biggest fucking problems is we use safety. It's kind of like how fucking a lot of these like ultra progressive left weirdos use now is they use the idea of safety in motorsport as a complete fucking shutdown of any conversation. They say, oh, well, you want to be unsafe. And then it's like, well, we can't talk about this rationally anymore.
Yeah.
And I have a big fucking problem with that, because all of a sudden you can use safety as a fucking excuse to do anything you want. You say, this is improving safety. And all of a sudden you can't contest it, otherwise you're reckless. Yeah. And I think that's the problem I have here is there are a few safety regulations that have been put in. And for sure that makes sense. I mean, the full face helmet and stuff like that. That makes sense. That certainly makes sense on Nishi. I don't know if I'd say I would completely agree that it needs to be on school course, but how do you regulate it?
Yeah.
That's the problem. And so from that perspective, I kind of agree with it.
100% agree with it.
I do agree with it. I do. So, but there's some safety regulations, but I feel like what's happened is safety has been used, and there's been a lot of safety regulations being that's kind of been put under this guise of safety regulations when we know it wasn't really all about that. There was a lot to do with the Japanese. Now that's fair enough, because for sure it's making you obviously don't want it to be an issue where the Japanese don't want to rock up anymore. Definitely. Because they feel they can't even go to their own fucking Matsura.
I do want to say one thing about the safety thing again in terms of cars is that like I was saying, beginners and stuff might get out there with these cars that have already been fucked up, and then they've just been sort of bent back straight. I mean, we know about metal fatigue and that sort of thing. A car that's been missiled a few times and then repaired and then missiled and then repaired and then missiled.
But if the beginners, they won't be going to Nishi.
What?
The beginners don't go to Nishi long.
They do though.
Well, then they just should like that. I think that's the problem. That's the attitude. That's the attitude issue.
Exactly.
It's not the car issue.
I totally agree.
And the thing is, you could take them out in a brand new JZX, and if they brand new Laurel for sure, brand new sparkling C33, you take them out. They do 180k and flip it in Nishi. Doesn't matter if it's been beat or not. They're gonna fucking crush their head in.
Exactly.
They become a little fucking pancake. So,
that's
the thing. The thing is, what I'm saying is the regs that probably the most strict ones are the ones saying that you got to make a factory boot fit to a factory latch. You can't just strap it down or whatever like that. So you either do that or pins. And if you lose your boot, it's a lot to make if you lose your boot and your rear quarter, it's a lot to make that work again. Especially if you haven't done it a million times, and we've done it because we've fixed all these cars. So we know how to do that shit. But if you're a kid and you don't know how to do that stuff, you lose a day in that.
Yeah.
And so I guess the thing is, that's not really a safety thing. Now we could debate with a safety thing with certain cars, with fuel tanks and stuff like that. Now that becomes a different story.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just easy to generalise this because there's too many people that keep track of everything. And maybe that's what it comes down
to. For them to be able to monitor it and regulate it,
it
becomes a massive massive logistical nightmare.
Yeah.
So it's easier to set just a blanket rule for that.
Yeah, and I guess the thing for me about it all was it was just, and like I made a post, thing, and I think it got, like, most people I think took it the right way, but I think a few people took it the wrong way. I guess the thing is, for me, this is genuinely an end of an era. And it's not necessarily blaming, EBISU or whoever. It's really, or even the people that are going out there and saying, I want to fuck shit up. It's not even blaming anybody. It's just saying it's just sad that it's got to a point for which, for whatever reason, these regulations have been put in place. And we've definitely lost an era that would never come back. And that's just as simple as that. It's sad for me.
Yeah.
And it's not about blame. And I think the problem is you put something up and everybody wants to fucking think you're blaming somebody or you're arguing a point or whatever. And it's just sad. It's just sad that we won't see that again.
Yeah, I know.
But kind
agree with that.
But kind of cool that we were a part of it. But what the other fucking thing that annoys me is the hypocrisy of a lot of these people, which I've seen arguing about it and talking about. Yeah, fuck, it's about time we got rid of these missiles. Like, so you got your fucking time in the missile. You got what you needed out of them, and now you're just fucking abandoning them. I was like, think about all the guys that are up and coming that would learn so much from being able to go out there and completely carefree. People say there's not really a lot to be learned by, scraping walls and hitting walls.
Bullshit.
Like, 100% fucking bullshit. 100% bullshit, dude. My white lower, I used to go around every single fucking track, and I used to get scrapes on the walls, and not until Bihoku. And Bihoku, you guys obviously know Bihoku, how that first corner is. But not until Bihoku did I really have a big fucking, big denter in that. And that was a big dent. But, at the same time, that gives you so much precision with how to chase lines, stuff like that. I mean, literally, tomorrow I'm going off to Calder and, you've got to basically be on every single fucking wall.
Yeah.
You've got to be on the wall for every... right up and close to it. And the fact is that those skills were developed at EBISU for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
And the fact that, I'll be able to do it, is 100% from that. And it's not about smashing into them necessarily, but having the precision to be able to put your fucking wheels into a certain little place and stuff like that. You need consequence. You need to have that feedback from the wall and stuff like that, and all those things. Well, so it needs the wrong word, but it certainly accelerates it. Fuck.
Well, let's think about okay. So you've got school course and whatever in at EBISU.
Yeah.
That's pretty much when you stoked that first car in. That's pretty much as hard as you're going to hit that wall.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah. No, that wasn't. No, that look. To be fair, I thought it was a decent knock, but it wasn't like a crazy big. I mean,
it wasn't the biggest hit I've ever had.
I got a mate that broke his ribs on that wall.
Okay,
Sugar broke his ribs on that wall.
I stand corrected, but it's not a high speed course. It's not going to kill anyone.
Oh yeah. That was
a wrist or something, but that's all your ribs. But
that's a freak. That was a freak accident. I've never heard of that happening ever else.
Yeah,
but once again,
but then on a global scale, not just thinking about EBISU, but it's like you just said, you come to Australia and you want to compete, and you look at all of our courses that are running walls. I mean, was it Winton or whatever? Like you've got some fast walls there. You've got Calder. If you're drifting AIR, like all of these courses pretty much are fourth gear against the wall. We don't have anywhere that you can go out and putt around in second gear and work out where the back end of your car is.
Yeah.
That for me is going to be
but that's one of the biggest things I hear about from a lot of people is when they finally go to a place to scrape to get near a wall and to get close to it. And they're required to get close to it for the competition or whatever. And they go out there and they're like, oh, how close is that? I was like, ages.
You're still off.
Yeah, exactly. But because people, it's this mental thing. It's this mental thing where people think they're closer than they actually are.
Yeah.
And so being able to go out and actually just learn and get closer and closer and closer until you actually hit it, until you get the actual feedback from the wall.
Yeah.
You need that because most people they don't know, they have no actual true car perception of how long their car is when they go into a corner, because you're actually when you actually go for a wall scrape, you're a lot closer than you actually think you should be.
I mean, it's like, okay, like I understand there's a portion of the drift community that don't smile upon missiles, and like you've said before, that a lot of the time there are people who've had missiles in the past but don't have it. They distance themselves from it now because they're
all
too
the
good.
style guys and stuff like that, and
but whatever.
Competition guys, but
sure.
But at the end of the day, we're trying to progress the sport, and I get that missiling things is bad for the sport and whatever else.
I think what they're probably, if you're talking about image and stuff and them being worried about it and that being part of the reason, I think on a large scale it's detrimental.
Okay, well, so this is the driftland thing.
People's skills to progress.
Yeah.
So to the point where the sport's worth watching.
Yeah. So this is the driftland thing. So that's why driftland banned it basically.
Yeah.
It was an image thing, and they didn't. And Jeek didn't make. He made it very clear that that's exactly why it was. He didn't try and say it was for safety or anything like that. He said it's an image thing. And Power Vehicles also said they're trying to up the image.
I think that's a very valid point for us because we've got Taylor Bend pending.
Yes,
and
it is.
It's going to be very interesting to see how that falls.
So here's the thing, though. So I mean, you've got once again you got the skill thing, and people think, you just build your skills. We go, all right. But we've seen a lot of South Australian guys. I mean, you got like Candy and stuff like that. Ben Candy. If I just say Candy, it sounds a bit weird. But guys like that, like young dudes, like you got like Todd Cooper and stuff like that.
Yeah.
These young guys that really progress really fast just from going out and basically having missiles.
Yeah.
And good drivers. We're not talking about guys which slam into them. I mean, Ben obviously, we did tell him to tone it down a little bit because he was getting a little bit ruthless.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, dude, the Laurel's only got so much red in it before it fucking. So like we did have to tell him to tone it down, but then he toned it down. We literally told him to tone it down, and he literally was just like, just pinning off. Like it was. He went from smashing us around the course, and saying, "Dude, you're too aggressive," to just him just going right on our doors and just fucking nailing on our doors the whole way around the course. And it was the skill was there, and just attitude, the skill was developed from all that. Not from the battling and stuff like that.
Dealing with variation.
Yeah, exactly. And so when we told him to pull it back, he was able to because he knows how close to get.
Yeah.
He knows how close to get.
Yeah.
And he was a great example. But there are a lot of guys. We like you said, we're getting these guys coming from the battle stuff. And here's the fucking biggest thing. Everybody says missiles make our sport look bad. And I'll tell you what makes our sport look more bad than missiles. It's shit drivers at the top level. And I tell you right now, it's fucking rife.
Yeah.
Every single continent.
Yeah.
Even Japan, you're getting guys at the top level or top level that would get absolutely schooled by guys at lower levels.
Yeah.
It is fucking rife. And I saw a lot in Europe, heaps in Europe. You see it in FD, you see it in ADGP. Although I would say we do have, like, as much as people give ADGP guys shit, we've got a lot of really good ADGP drivers, real genuine talented guys that can muscle it. And you have them everywhere. I love driving with a bunch of guys from FD. They're true fucking good guy. I mean, look, like Chelsea and Turk. I mean, they get in the, we've done the bash and stuff like that. We've done the E36s and stuff like that. Turk was at fucking Ray Lee in a R31, with a RB30E. And he was doing, these guys can actually fucking drive. But don't get me wrong, there are a lot of guys at top level which are just do not have that talent.
Yeah.
And so I tell you right now, like when I see some shit on TV, or not TV, but streams like that, I say that's representing us. I'm watching top 32s, and I'm like, I can go to a state level competition and see better than that. Like that's what's representing us. If I was from outside of this sport, I would just be like, these guys, what's the go with this? Like, is this meant to be what's the point of this?
Is it grassroots or is
But if you could take what you see in a lot of this missile stuff, and if you could give them clean cars and stuff like that. Obviously, there's more to that, but you do see it, and you see it in DCA too. You got guys like Blake Patterson and stuff like that who has spent a lot of time in missiles, like Brody and Chris. Not necessarily doing a lot of DCA, but you see in a lot of these guys which which transfer the stuff they learn in battle cars or more basic cars like that, and they go out there and they put it in with their nice cars.
Yeah.
And they go out and they apply it, man. And that's why I think if you look at a lot of DCA dudes, a lot of them hustle in car, and they've driven cars which weren't pretty or battle cars like that. And they fucking hustle, man, and they drive sick, and they apply it in good cars. And I think we have to nurture that fucking thing. And the problem I have with when we say, oh, missiles are bad for the sport, what happens is we're blaming those people for it. And I got to tell you right now, the best driving I've seen are guys which have spent a lot of time in these basic cars.
I agree with that.
And they're applying it into this shit.
Yeah.
And I tell you right now, if we want to talk about in an isolated incident, yeah, for sure, maybe EBISU, maybe it's good for EBISU to have this or whatever, but I just think overall, if tracks start banning missiles completely, not just saying, we don't want it for our competitions, we don't want it for this, we don't want it for any sort of thing. And what I also say is the other thing I would like to propose is maybe what we need media blackout events, and maybe that's what we need. Where we say this is going to be a missile event, but it's a media blackout event. We have no pictures of it, so guys go there purely to train, enjoy themselves, but no, you don't post up about it, stuff like that. And maybe that's what will help, because then the sport you don't necessarily have spectators outside of the media, people that really just want to see that shit.
Yeah.
You're not publicising it to the general public, and so we're getting this progression without having the public seeing out this dirty fucking thing that the drifters doing. But
I think at the same time there'll still be the people with the wrong attitudes going out to these days.
I'm telling you right now, dude, you put a media blackout on it, you get rid of those guys. When they can't put up the Instagram shit, fuck shit up, I tell you right now, you just fucking got rid of them. I tell you right now, man, like seriously, media blackout could be quite a good thing, because the guys that are there for the right reasons, they don't need the fucking videos. And now you're talking about a guy which obviously has done a lot of missile media and stuff like that. But what I'm saying is this: what many people probably don't realise how much driving we've done in battle cars without shit.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we don't...
Our whole 2012 trip, man.
Yeah,
And
I try to put it out. I try to put a lot of stuff out there, but what probably a lot of people don't realise is people think, oh, I film everything. Right, I film a fraction of it. Yeah. I'm notoriously bad. I'm notoriously bad for not putting a GoPro on. Yeah. Like, and literally I've got mates that like Flippy and shit that'll be like, now remember to put your GoPros on, and he'll come over and he'll help me. So like, because I'm notoriously bad with it. But this is the thing that I think if we do a bit of a media blackout with that shit, we can keep running the events. But you're killing off the trend of it, and I think you might actually be able to continue that.
I think as drifters as well, yes, I agree to a point. I don't necessarily think it'll get rid of all of it, because I think there will still be people who enjoy going out there and just fucking shit up. But I do think as drifters as a whole, we're better off. If you think about when the whole missile craze started to come in, if you had a couple of the guys who'd been around the sport for a long time or were respected or whatever within the sport, if you had those guys turn around and say to some of these guys that were getting overly reckless and doing stupid shit, just, hey, look, mate, like, we're all out here for the same reason, but just tone it down a little bit before someone gets hurt, or, just point out, oh, look, your car's a fucking banana, you probably shouldn't be driving this track at 180 k's an hour.
Well, that's the problem with the missile thing. But that's the problem with the missile thing, is that it's everybody's like, don't fucking say shit, just fucking go, rah, and everybody's, it's kind of like, I'm trying to, but everybody's kind of like,
let's just get out there and have fun.
Yeah, like everybody's like, don't fucking tell anybody what to do, and rah, and so there's a kind of stigma against actually calling somebody out and saying, dude, you're being a fucking douche, right?
Oh, right, okay.
So there's this kind of stigma where it's just stuff like that, and look, look, I had plenty of one-on-one discussions, but I will say one thing: the people that fucking actually come up to me and we would talk about the subject, most of them, if not all of them, got it. Not all of them, but pretty close to all of them got it. They were like, yeah, we know it's not about fucking going out there and smashing shit and stuff like that. We're just out there to push on, and the critical thing is to laugh about damage, like if you're going out there, but not to Like,
Not to
go
seek it
for
out.
it. Not to go
No,
for it.
I think what you've just said
Yeah.
is exactly what they're trying to do. I think
Yeah.
that is what they're trying to change.
But here's
okay.
I think
but that's the main. That's the main
here's
point.
the problem. As somebody that supported the guy in the Celica that wants to have his fucking wheels like this and the tire just beating like this. You know, the one with the crazy camber. You know, the guy. Amazing dude. Yeah, amazing guy. Like, he's nicest guy, and he said some really cool shit when we were at Doroten and he was there. But I support that. I support that on the extreme end, and I support the competition dudes that want 1,000 horsepower sequential horror. I support all this shit because the reason why I support it is not because I like it, and I actually do like 1,000 horsepower sequential. Like, that's cool, even though it's, you know, whatever. But even if it's something shit I don't like, there's a reason why I support it, and it comes down to the fact that if you enjoy the sport and you're getting out of what you need to and you're not affecting others, I can't tell you what to do, and it's not my place to tell you to do. Because when I started in this sport, I was considered lower than all these guys we're talking about now that go out there and smash their cars.
Yeah.
So I was considered lower than that shit. I was, because that wasn't really a big thing at the time, and so I got given all the shit that everybody's kind of giving those guys shit now. And I'll just tell you right now, regardless of what we like and stuff like that, what are they getting out of it? Are they enjoying it? Because they kept saying you're shit, all that stuff like that. But I just enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, but it makes sense. I enjoy it, so why does it matter? So I kept doing it purely based on the fact that I enjoyed what I got out of the sport.
Yeah.
It may not have been what everybody said was the right thing to get out of the sport, but I enjoyed it. And that's the thing about these guys that are going out there and probably a little bit too aggressive. It's because I can sit here and say, well, it's not really my thing. I don't like doing that. I mean, I like pushing it and being stupid and stuff like that. But I don't like sitting in the fucking pits repairing my car because I pushed too hard.
Yeah.
I fucking hate that.
Yeah.
But I think the critical thing is, are you hitting me? Are you making my car unrepairable? Because I tell you right now, generally people that smash me are guys from my experience of being guys that don't miss a whole lot. They're guys that haven't been close to cars. They're guys which have, guys with, I've had guys with competition cars with big fucking bash bars just destroying my car because I missed a transition, and they built their cars like a fucking, like a fucking tank, and then it's just taking a rear out. Those are the guys which have actually smashed my car up. And I'll tell you right now, unless you're hitting my car, unless you're damaging my car, and like, if you're just on me and stuff like that, and shit happens.
Yeah.
But if you're plowing into me, obviously that's a dick move.
Yeah.
And you're destroying my car, you're making my car undrivable.
Yeah.
But unless you're doing that, you know what? And unless you're really adversely affecting things, power to you. Enjoy the sport and have your fun, and that's my issue is I don't feel like I can stand here and tell people what they can and can't do, because if you're going to sit here and say whatever you get out of sport, enjoy what you do, whether you're a style guy and you've got some ridiculous fucking hellfly shit and you're scraping everywhere and stuff like that, which obviously I love, but you might be like that guy, and you might spend most of your time in the pits and very rarely go on track. That I'm not on board with that. I don't like that. But I respect that they want to do that.
Yeah.
And if they're enjoying that, and if they enjoy just sitting in the fucking pits and being a part of the environment and stuff like that, fucking go for it. If you're a competition dude where you get all your fucking, you get all your whatever you need out of the sport just from winning competitions and winning trophies, go for it.
Yeah.
I don't mind. It's not affecting me, and you're enjoying the sport for whatever. As long as you're in it for enjoyment and you're not there for some external fucking bullshit which is killing the general vibe, then I'm completely with it. And I tell you right now, I have a lot of mates which are out there, and I just think that is nothing like Squid, for example. I mean, I love the guy. Like, we've drove for a long time together. He does I look at that and I think, man, I could never do that. I could never get that little, I would want to drive a lot more. I want to spend my money on a lot more track time and stuff like that. But I 100% respect what he does.
Yeah.
You know, and I think the kid's, you know, awesome and stuff like that. And he goes out there and he obviously loves what he does. And I think he's, you know, so all the fucking power to him.
Yeah.
And I think that's the critical thing, is people not respecting what they want to do, and that's, I think, the biggest issue is why people have a big problem with missiles, is because it's not what they want to do. It's just something different.
Yeah.
And people think as soon as an idea doesn't align with theirs, all of a sudden you've got to do what you fucking can to fight against it and talk about it bad. And when that, and then when
those
the other
people aren't making the decisions anyway. These are just these are just the people who are making the arguments.
Well, maybe, but the thing is, you kick up a big enough stink, like what happened at Driftland. You kick up a big enough stink, and action will happen. And that's the problem.
I don't know. Those people who might be against it, I don't know if they have kicked up much of a stink about it.
For sure, dude. Anti-missile guys have been a big fucking vocal voice recently. Voice. You know what I mean? They've been a loud voice recently.
Yeah, but
talking about how
voice recently, but they wouldn't have affected any of the decisions at EBISU.
Oh no, not necessarily. Well, not necessarily EBISU.
Well, that's what we're talking about.
Well, the thing is I'm talking more about the knock-on effect and other people making the decision. And Driftland also.
You're talking about it like you're talking about EBISU creating a precedent.
Yeah, and I'm also talking about Driftland in a way, because Driftland obviously did the same thing, and I think we've got to talk about the
Did they do it at the same time?
No, Driftland did it ages ago.
Okay.
Yeah, Driftland did it.
So
Driftland did it after the last batch.
So what's Driftland's regs? It's that you can rock up with a nice car, and if it gets fucked up, so be it, just fix it.
Yeah, essentially. Jake will fucking grill me because I probably got it wrong, but anyway.
So that is essentially the same as DCA rules.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which is fine.
Yes. I mean, look, I don't agree exactly with the decision of Jake.
Driftland.
Yeah, for Driftland. I mean, I've told him many times. I don't think a blanket ban is the way to go, and I think the problem is what happened is he banned off everything except for the bash, and so there's one event a year, and so everyone's like, well, why would I keep a missile just for one event? And so obviously it wasn't very popular and rah rah.
I kind of agree with your standpoint earlier, Aussie. Like, if I was to go out in a car, like, okay, it's one thing to do that if you live near Driftland or you live near EBISU or you live near your local track here and they've got the same regs. But for me, say, okay, I go over to Japan, I buy a car. I go to EBISU, I drift Matsuri and I drift an extra week or two. My car gets a bit fucked up. If they were to adopt the same system as Driftland, I don't then have the time or the money to turn around and spend a long time repairing my car and getting back to perfect.
Sure.
This is a bit of a grey area here, because it's like, all right, well, if you've just got to have one tail light, one headlight, and you just can't have any sharp edges on your car and the boot's kind of got to fit, well, fair enough. You can bash it, you can take a day out of your busy schedule to smash your car back into shape and whatever.
Yeah.
I just quickly point out, you guys probably hearing the compressor next door. The car I'm driving this weekend is literally getting sprayed out the door.
Right now.
It's pretty good.
Poor Pete's been at it for a while.
He's doing a crap. Yeah, and we're literally in here while he's spraying that, because tonight I'm getting the knuckles off Aussie, which he's brought, and I'm putting the whole front end together after this podcast.
Yeah, so someone else is working on Stewie's car.
Yeah, exactly.
He's sitting here.
I'm sitting here drinking beer
and talking shit.
Yeah. So the front end might be a little bit, how you going?
So basically, what we can determine from this is you're a complete cunt because you're not working on your car.
Exactly.